welcome to Hot Roster today. The matchups revealed. I'm Gary and Thorne. That is Cam Stewart. Our favorite day of the week because we get some concrete matchups which you can play this weekend or tonight even on HotRoster.com. Cam, how's it going, man?
Good, pretty good, Gary. I'm still getting over that World Series game. I know you're a big sports fan like me, huge baseball guy. That was wild.
It was fantastic. I mean, I keep saying this, but like Rajai Davis.
I love Rajai Davis.
Love Rajai Davis. I'm a big Jays fan. Experienced him for like 2.5 years. The one concrete memory I have of Rajai in my head is I don't know if you remember this, but he was the last out in the Justin Verlander no-hitter against Toronto. Swing it like a slider low and away. Wasn't even close. That's my version of Rajai Davis. To see this guy hit a 2-run home run off of Aroldis Chapman and then drive in almost the game-tying run in the bottom of the 10th.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
It's weird to see, but a great game, great series.
A lot of mistakes by Cleveland's defense, though, early in the game.
And who said Cubbies in 7? We redeemed ourselves there, Cam, a little bit on that one. But, of course, it is Thursday, which means we have to talk about the Thursday night football game tonight. And there was a lot to cover from a fantasy perspective, even just in the backfields of each team. Tevin Coleman officially out tonight against the Buccaneers. Ooh. That means Terron Ward will again dress for the Falcons. 7 touches, 57 yards against the Green Bay Packers last week. Very respectable numbers, but no time to even talk about that, Cam, because we got to talk about the conundrum that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield. A juicy matchup against Atlanta. I don't think anyone can deny that. But right now you have Antone Smith as the likely starter.
Yikes.
You have Peyton Barber possibly taking some in-between the tackles work, possibly the goal line work. So this is the situation I want to lay out for you, Cam, because this is something that's probably facing a few fantasy owners out there. I know even producer Chris, this is something he's doing specifically. Antone Smith is a guy who in a PPR especially, you could probably throw out there with a little bit of confidence. But if you're someone who owns a Spencer Ware or a LaShawn McCoy or a Carlos Hyde, these top-tier running backs with great matchups this week, well, not LaShawn McCoy, but the other two, do you wait on these guys not knowing their fate? Do you throw out Antone Smith in a situation we don't know what the running back by committee is going to be? How do you play this? With this strange situation?
It's really tough, but if you're thinking about the running back situation, you talked about it. McCoy against the Bills, McCoy against the Seahawks on the road on Monday night. That's a tough situation. I have to believe out of them all, Hyde is the best matchup. Yep. The one thing is Hyde's going against the New Orleans Saints. But you said it, Garen. I don't really have faith in any type of guy. Barber hasn't had a big workload. Smith we don't know about. But then again, when you look at things, with the glass half full approach, optimism, Jaquiz Rodgers was a fill-in back, basically, out of work. And he came in there and carved up a lot of defense and got major touches because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't trust Jameis Winston to run the offense. So you know what? Maybe you do roll the dice because I can tell you one thing. They're going to feed the running back till maybe he breaks one because that's Tampa Bay's style.
And it seems like the guy who'd be more apt to break one would be Antone Smith. I mean, we talk about 4.33 40 speed. The dude is 31 now, so I don't know if he's...
We're all getting older, Gary.
We are, so I don't know if he's going to roll that out quite as much. But as you mentioned, they're going to run the ball. I mean, the last
also
3
revenge,
weeks,
though. Don't you like the angle against the old team? I kind of like that.
There's a little bit of revenge, too. But as you mentioned, last 3 weeks, Tampa Bay those last 3 weeks, they are 3rd in the NFL in pass ratio, or the lowest pass ratio, lowest in the NFC at just 48.3%. They don't trust Jameis. They were going to hand the ball to anybody standing behind him at this point. So I think, like you said, Spencer Ware, I don't think he's going to play. LaShawn McCoy, I don't like the matchup. Of those 3 guys, I'd hold out Carlos Hyde, but I think he's the only one of those 3. Let's move on to a less fruitful offensive environment so far this season, that being the Minnesota Vikings. And as you would expect with a team that has not put up points the last couple of weeks, they are making changes to their offensive coaching staff. Norv Turner is out. Pat Shurmur is in. And that's very interesting because he has a relationship with their current quarterback, Sam Bradford. Now, this could be one of those weird kind of situations where even though there's the change, and I'm sure Shurmur has his own philosophies and things of that nature, they get a Lions defense that is absolutely terrible, probably the worst defense in the NFL. So the Vikings could very well go out and score 27, 28 points against the Lions this week, and it had nothing to do with their new offensive coordinators. But do you feel like Shurmur could make a difference possibly with any part of this offense?
Listen, Gary, it's one of those things, it's almost like addition by subtraction. The problem was right now with the Minnesota Vikings, they were taking a lot of shots deep. They were doing things that they don't necessarily do well. The thing I like about Sam Bradford, I think they're going to simplify the offense. And even against Detroit, he can shred them. I'm concerned, though, only 8 touchdown passes. It's brutal. And we're seeing a lot of one touchdown games. That's not going to get it done in the fantasy world. But I think Shurmur is actually a good move because I think Sam Bradford's going to go back to the old Bradford. They know each other, and he's going to nickel and diming, and eventually over time, I think they're going to put up big, big numbers. I like the move because over the last few weeks, sorry, Norv, you weren't getting it done.
I don't think it can hurt. I'll say
it's
that.
not going to. I think
it
there's
can't get much worse.
There's a comfortable factor too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but unless Pat Shurmur knows 4 guys who can play offensive line, I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, their
at this point
offensive
for the
line's
Vikings.
awful.
Like, you can't do anything with a line that bad. I mean, look, there's teams like the Miami Dolphins, for instance, who cannot pass block but have an elite run blocking line. That's fine. You can live with being good at one thing. The Vikings are terrible at both aspects of their offensive line play. Right now, they're second to last in adjusted running yards, adjusted line yards. They are 25th in adjusted sack rate. They can't pass block. They can't run block. They can't do anything.
No, they can't. And McKinnon's 3.2 yards a carry. Ronnie Hillman, you're an X factor. You can't do anything. So
no Bridgewater, no Peterson. Like, look, this is not a great situation
No.
to put Pat Shurmur in. So I'm not going to say that it's his fault if he doesn't succeed here, but I'm not exactly excited too much.
But it is
about any
against the
aspect of
Lions.
this.
I have faith.
That game is fine.
Yes,
that game is fine.
Pussycats.
And actually, we'll talk about that matchup in just a second in conjunction with the fact that Nick Foles is officially going to start this weekend against the Jacksonville Jaguars for the Kansas City Chiefs. Alex Smith ruled out, even though, again, they will not officially say that he had a concussion. So it's a very weird situation.
Even though he got not smoked once, but twice.
Twice.
Like,
He got concussed
not once,
2 times.
twice, almost thrice. Like,
But
come on.
there's a very interesting situation here this week where there's a lot of low-end quarterbacks who are stream options in fantastic matchups. We just mentioned one with Sam Bradford against Detroit. Ryan Tannehill gets the Jets. Colin Kaepernick gets the Saints. So is there any way you're seeing yourself playing Nick Foles this week? And if you're not, Cam, does he at least help some parts of this offense?
Yeah, I think Nick Foles is a slight downgrade from Alex Smith, but not like it's not that big. He was the guy that really lit it up in Philadelphia a couple years ago, helped me win a fantasy championship, actually. So we've seen Foles do it before, also in a bad situation with the Rams. So, yes, he can. And the one person I think, we talk about guys that are going to benefit from Foles. I like Tyreek Hill, 5 for 98 and a touchdown, Gary. And I think this burner, him and Foles seem to have a relationship, so I am sold on that. And I got to be honest with you, Alex Smith is a guy who likes to hand off the ball a lot of the time. We're not going to see like huge discrepancies. So you know what? I'm going to go down with Foles. I think Foles is going to be a great option.
And it might be Chark West this week too, so you never know how reliant they're going to be on the passing plays. A lot of X factors here with the Chiefs this week. And one thing I'll say, we are dealing with very small sample sizes. And I do like those 3 aforementioned guys I said off the top in better matchups for DFS or as a streaming quarterback. But Foles could really help some people on this team. And I think Jeremy Maclin is one of those people too. You mentioned Tyreek Hill. That's a very interesting play with his deep speed. But Macklin's a guy who still has the highest ADOT of any receiver on the Chiefs. It's only at like 12.5 yards. But that's a lot for Alex Smith because Alex Smith this season, his ADOT was 7.5. I know it's a small sample size, but over the 24 dropbacks he had last week, Nick Foles' ADOT was up at 9.9 yards. So maybe he uses Maclin a little bit more, a little deeper down the field.
We had a Travis Kelce sighting last
Very
week
possible.
too, 7 for 101, and he would have had more, but Tyreek Hill took a couple of his targets away.
And you could say it's just the Colts, but this is just the Jaguars, so it's another good matchup for Foles.
Yes.
Again, I don't think I'd be running out there to use him in season long as a quarterback, but he might help the Chiefs you already have on your team. Okay, Cam, before we round out the big 4 here, let's talk about Corey Coleman.
Love him.
Who will return this weekend for the Cleveland Browns. Kind of an interesting situation right now in Cleveland. No surprise that their quarterback situation is in flux because it has been every single week this year. But Josh McCown, who wasn't exactly blowing anyone away last week, put up respectable numbers for the Browns last week, even though he is still healthy, somehow remained healthy, which is crazy for a Browns quarterback. Cody Kessler is fully recovered from that concussion. He practiced in full on Wednesday, and some people expect Kessler to actually start in this contest. Maybe not surprising to go with a young hand for an 0-8 team, but does this help Coleman? Or, are you running out Coleman? Are you starting him? What's the upside here?
I think we can start Coleman. I got a weird situation too, Gary, and I'm breaking down this game. I actually don't like the situation for the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're a team that beat Philadelphia barely in a game they got dominated. Now you're going on the road to a place in Cleveland against a horrible team. You know what this smells like? A Browns and Cowboys battle. I could see lots of points in this game. I could see Cleveland putting up lots of points. And one thing we know about Dallas, their secondary is not that great.
No.
So you know what? I love Coleman. He's averaging 85 yards a game when he played, a couple touchdowns. He was a stud at Baylor. You throw to this guy, he'll catch it. I think him and Pryor are both viable options. I don't know what your take is.
I would think they're both viable. We do know the one thing about Dallas, and we talk about this seemingly every single week, is they just control the ball. They take the air out of the football, and they can do that against a Cleveland team that cannot stop the run. So maybe the possessions and the play counts are not there to sustain 2 wide receivers here. But the one thing about Coleman, he's only played 2 games, only has 12 targets, but those 12 targets, plus 20 ADOT on the season. I don't think that's something that's going to sustain itself. And actually, if Kessler is the quarterback aside from McCown, you look at the numbers so far this season, McCown's ADOT up over 10. Kessler's is actually below Alex Smith's. We saw Taylor Hawkins have a pretty good game last week. I think that it's possible here that a healthy Corey Coleman fills that role, fills the Andrew Hawkins role, and he might be the beneficiary here of some PPR-type passes.
Yeah, I love the Cleveland running wide receiver situation this week, but I'm a
wide
little bit
receivers.
crazy, Gary, and that's the way I'm going to roll with them.
Well, we'll address that during the break. We'll try to figure out who Cam is and how we can help him possibly. But when we come back, maybe Corey Parson can shed some light on Cam's sanity. We're going to break down another Hot Roster Today card with Corey after the break.